Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. Upon the invitation of independentwatcher.com, the best curator of independent watchmaking, I headed out to Macau last weekend for the very first Macau International Watch Guild show held in a brand new venue, part of the Galaxy Macau hotels. There is a huge arena, 16,000 seater, and beautiful exhibition halls like this one. Independent Watcher was teaming up with the horologist on their booth. Benzinger, Celadon, Timeless, Wilbur, Garrick, all the cool brands, including Edward Kern with this gorgeous green version of the World Heritage 2, were there present on the table, along with a few selected pieces from the private collection of Benjamin of Independent Watcher, because, of course, every dealer is a collector at heart, and well, to some extent, I suppose, everything is for sale when you're saving for the ultimate grail. Check out my favorite here, the Tempest 2 Open Heart from Edward Kern, Skill, Timeless, Dumoro, Alexander Shodokov, Celadon. All the cool watches I've been presenting on the channel were there. Sharing the same booth, the horologist, who you can discover further on his Instagram and website, had brought in a fine selection of modern and neo-vintage watches, including this Audemars Piguet dual time running Jaeger-LeCoultre movement, of course. Next to it, there was a very well priced and sumptuous perpetual calendar, as well as a GLC perpetual calendar. You will also find there in the selection a couple of Daniel Roth watches, which has really become a collector favorite lately, and this beautiful square Audemars Piguet Jules Audemars, pretty unusual with those teardrop lugs. The market has somewhat slowed down quite a bit, so maybe now is a good time to visit those shows and pick up some interesting watches you had been eyeing for a few years. So throughout the day there were a few interesting panel discussions and lots of various items to discover beyond watches. So let's dig a bit around the booth. You see some watches that you will recognize, but sometimes you can find some very unusual limited edition, like for example this Patek Philippe annual calendar Shanghai limited edition, and I think the hobnail bezel really works with this dial color. Of course, you could buy some watch boxes. Hippo Group from Hong Kong brought out the heavy hitters, millions of dollars worth of Grubel 4C, Patek, Audemars Piguet, and Richard Mille to discover on this booth. I'll let you have a look, and don't hesitate to comment about your favorites and reach out to those dealers or visit them if you're in Hong Kong and Macau. You just saw some Grandmaster chime, of course, green dial here, Nautilus. Big favorite here, the Ellipse, and this minute repeater perpetual calendar. Of course, you can find as well F. Pigeon in quite a few of the booth this year. On the right here, you have the Biblos limited edition. Very hard to find pieces. Richard Mille here. Tourbillon à gogo. And yeah, lots of interest around this booth. Those heavy hitters, vintage or new, are still sought after. Sought after as well, and maybe coming back into the collections. These pocket watches, this one very, very old, probably the oldest on the table here. This one ultra rare, apparently only 2 examples in the world. Really a fascinating world to discover. And these pieces sometimes are over 200 years old. Of course, if something breaks, you will need to find a very skilled, passionate watchmaker to be able to bring those back to life. Maybe some of those just belong in a museum or rather than in your vest pocket. But really a beautiful work, and always nice to see handcraft, unique pieces. And I think many of the independent watchmakers are trying to bring back the spirit of having something really special. And this is the man behind the exhibit, Mr. Fong. He's a Paneristi and the private owner of the fantastic Macau Timepiece Museum. I didn't have the time to visit this time, but I hope to go very soon. And he wanted to bring a watch show to Macau. So this is the first one, and he's the man to thank for it. Digging further into the displays, more Patek and more diamond-studded watches. Each dealer has his specialty. This one finds those rare Rolex items. Who knows how you get these? You have to be VVIP. Now here is the booth of a Macau dealer. There's quite a few dealers here in Macau. A few vintage Tudors here. I quite liked this early overseas chronograph, but the second generation is just as nice. Some vintage Tudors Mariners as well. A few more classic pieces, and of course some Chinese brands were represented, and some of them are very avant-garde. Others, like this one here, tend to copy some designs that we know well, but I think Chinese watchmaking is going to progress so quick you won't believe it. Now, INA, it's an interesting brand from Macau, actually, very high-end. You bring them your Audemars Piguet caliber, and they will turn it into an alternative material, like here in a ceramic. They can make different color, blue, white, black. They can even customize the dial for you. This is the raw form that they work with, and they will do all the hand finishing, beveling, polishing, brushing to come to a result that's quite unusual. I don't know what AP thinks of this endeavor, but this is the IG handle, and they can even customize the rotor for you, as you can see here, with small stones. Quite unusual, and the dial here is customized as well. So if you're an AP fanatic and you want to stand out, you want to get something else, check it out, INA. Back to second-hand watches, pocket watches, and also many neo-vintage favorites, like for example this Sympathie by Roger Dubuis. And this dealer actually was showing some prices, but of course there's always room to negotiate. For example, on this Vacheron Constantin Historique, which I had seen in Hong Kong for much less. Seiko as well, Zenith, longer, quite a few of them, like Datograph, Ulysse Nardin, and Panerai as well. Actually, my buddy Benjamin at Independent Watcher grabbed a rare Panerai. I hope I'll get to show it to you very soon. Now, the Macau Timepiece Museum did bring some fascinating pieces of history, like those coin watches. You know, Patek also did some of these. All sorts of brands did those. I'd find them fascinating. Imagine carrying that in your pocket, or this sumptuous pocket watch. Just incredible handcrafting in those days. This one is by Lecoultre. And we're gonna see now a bit of a naughty one, a quarter repeater erotic automaton. There are some people in Switzerland who do specialize in renovating those timepieces, making sure they're still run. Really quite beautiful. So the Timepiece Museum in Macau is certainly worth a visit, and I hope to go very soon. More of those neo-vintage watches, Zenith here and there. Of course, check the condition, and don't hesitate to negotiate. Payments were made very easy at this Watch Guild show. And actually I was staying right above this show for the weekend in the brand new Andaz 6-star hotel, very cool hotel with beautiful views. And it's amazing how much they are building right now in Macau. So many rooms. This hotel alone had 700 rooms. Now, Barons, we talked a lot about it with the Ace of Spades. These are some of their very best watches with the chain watch there that you just saw. And of course, the one I wanted to see that has just been revealed this year is their ultralight. There is a 20-gram version, which they had here, and there is even an 11-gram version. And you can buy these, putting down deposit. They cost about 5,000 US. And this one, I just couldn't believe in person how refined, delicate all the elements of this watch are. And indeed, 20 grams wears like nothing else, and it's just a fascinating timepiece. I really like the shape of it, how it is curved to the wrist, and I'm very, very tempted. I gotta say, sometimes buying their watches is not that easy, and I have to say the sales guys there were not very efficient, and but I could gather that you have to put a deposit if you want this watch. It's not great. I think Barons can do a lot better in terms of the distribution. Not as good as Independent Watcher, that's for sure. Antiquarium was there as well. I had a little chat about, hey, why not bring one of my timepieces? Now, wrist check. That's the consignment business of Austin Chu, but it's more than that now, and they're really growing a big platform on social media, and they also help dealers connect with buyers. And they had some of my favorite watches, like this longer Lumen, and of course the Patek 5970J, the one that came last and was the least produced. This one is just so beautiful, still based on the old Le Mania. Love the lugs on this piece. And more and more, I love the yellow gold perpetual calendar chronographs of Patek. And they were also displaying l'épée, interesting way to show the time. So there you go. It was a really cool show where you could see some unusual things, and there's no doubt that it's going to grow over the years. Right now, there were lots of buyers coming through the day, but it was not as busy as the Hong Kong shows, and the dealers appreciated the fact that you could at least talk to people. It was not crazy. Business-wise, maybe quite a bit slower than in the past couple of years. People are just reconsidering their collections. And so, we'll see a bit how this show will evolve in the future. And these are the contacts on your screen. Benjamin at Independent Watcher, the horologist. The horologist, by the way, makes a very nice cleaning kit for your watches that can't really be washed. Of course, if you're in Macau, you got to taste the great Portuguese food. Wander down the little village of Taipa. It's really cool. Maybe try some of those beef jerky. Just take in the ambiance, which is always a bit weird because on the background you have those big hotels, and there's new ones every time you go to Macau. And of course, it's always nice to also chill at one of the fantastic pools of the Galaxy Macau and taking the views of the strip. So I will leave you with the diamond show from the diamond lobby of the Galaxy Macau, and on the right discover all the brands that are carried by Independent Watcher here in Hong Kong. But don't worry, wherever you are in the world, you can connect with Benjamin if you want a GOS or Lucky Harvey, Edward Kern, Garrick from the UK, which is, by the way, the watch that I was wearing on my trip. Romago, that's from Hong Kong. Narbel, Philippe Narbel just released his brand new version of his first watch with a fully skeletonized dial. It is gorgeous, and you can learn more about it in the blog that Benjamin writes on his website, and which is great because when it comes to independence, the world has exploded for independence, and you want to be really quick to get some of the subscription pieces, some of the first deliveries. That's a bit the game of the independent, and trust independent watcher to help you in that journey. I hope you've enjoyed discovering all of this with me. It was a great show. Thanks, Benjamin. Thanks, Mr. Fong. Bye-bye.